guys, welcome back to another financially fabulous episode. I'm Limor and I'm going to show you how to crush it with your finances. Today's episode is going to be really exciting. If you've ever wondered how cryptocurrencies are born, how they get onto exchanges, how they come to life, we're going to be talking about that today. I've got Jackie Stickwood in the house, who is the CEO of Fintech Fundraising, and we're going to get into all of those details, so stick around. Hey Jackie.
Hi Limor, how are you?
Good, I'm so glad that you're here because I have so many questions about how all these crazy cryptocurrencies come to life, and I don't know if I can call you this, but are you sort of a currency midwife, if you will? I just came up with that right now. Has anyone ever said that to you?
Nobody's ever said that. No, I kind of like that. Yes, I do. I help birth the cryptocurrencies once they're once they're alive.
Once they've been in the womb.
They're alive and going. Yeah, I help them sort of birth them to the world and get them on exchanges. Yes.
Amazing, really exciting. So I've got 1,000,001 questions, but first let me ask you, how did you even get into this? Because this is probably a role that didn't exist in any capacity a year, 2 years ago, a few years ago. So how did you even get into this?
Well, to start with, I first heard about cryptocurrency only about 7 or 8 months ago, not that long ago.
Holy moly, so yeah. You're new to the world too.
I'm absolutely new to the world, and so I heard about Bitcoin, I was fascinated, and I just did a deep dive. I learned everything I could about cryptocurrency, and I found out, of course, there's a ton of other coins out there besides Bitcoin.
You and me both, it kind of feels like you're drinking from fire hose.
Exactly. And then I was fortunate enough to meet up with a ton of people that are very involved in the cryptocurrency world, which just allowed me to find out even more, make phenomenal connections globally. And what I saw was there was this need. There's all of these brand new coins being developed, coins and tokens being developed, and they need to get on all these exchanges. I mean, there's I think over 200, maybe even 300 exchanges now, globally, cryptocurrency exchanges. And they all need to get their coins out there. And so I found a need that I would be able to go and actually assist these coin developers in putting their coins and tokens on various exchanges. So I've built relationships with over 20 exchanges now globally.
And do you know other people who do what you do? Because it sounds like you just figured out there was a need, started learning, started connecting the dots, and probably leveraged some of your skills and expertise from previous experience. But do you know other people who are doing what you're doing?
No.
That is so cool.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I've not met them. It was just something that was an idea when I was talking with a colleague of mine, and it just spawned from there.
Wow. So, I mean, could you tell us what your self-proclaimed job description looks like?
It's evolving all the time.
Yeah.
It's ever-changing, much like the cryptocurrency world. It's consistently evolving and changing. So what I thought was a simple, speaking to coin developers, get your coin and get them listed on exchanges, has evolved into more of even a consulting standpoint.
Because on how to sort of build something that's accepted by an exchange?
Yes, because every exchange has different criteria and various criteria. So some exchanges have much higher criteria, and if you don't meet the criteria, you just won't get listed on that exchange. Others are much more lenient.
Wow.
And so also every project is completely different. So because every exchange is different and they have different different sort of things that they're known for. So for instance, there's quite a few exchanges that do the fiat on-ramping and off-ramping, which is regular currency.
So I'm going to change my Canadian, my US dollar into crypto.
Exactly. There's a handful that do that. And that being said, most of the cryptocurrency exchanges don't handle fiat at all, which means you need to have cryptocurrency in order to trade on their platform. So, and each different project has different needs, so that's just one of them. So some projects, like I'm working with one project right now, they actually have a financial services product that they're offering. So the exchanges that they want need to have the fiat ramping.
Got it, got it.
So I step into that place of, okay, let's find out what exactly you need from a project standpoint, and then I can pick and choose the exchanges that best suit their needs, that will get their community involved the most efficiently and get their project out there the fastest.
Wow. So that's really interesting. So do you have a certain niche in terms of which kinds of exchanges you work with? I mean, in sort of a 7 or 8 month ramp up here, which I know has been totally insane. Have there been some exchanges that you've been focusing on? Have the exchanges been really excited to have someone who's sort of a connecting the dots for folks, or how is it evolving?
It's a full mix. I'm working with exchanges that are brand new, that are either just about to go live or are going live. So their focus is different. They just want to get a fair number of coins on their exchange. I'm also working with exchanges that have been around for a long time. They're well established, and so they're looking for different things. And like I said, I've now got access to over 20 different exchanges, and it's growing all the time. I'm building new relationships with exchanges all the time. Are they excited? For the most part, yes.
Try to make it a little easier for them, right?
Well, yes, because when they can come to me or I can deal with them, I'm one person to deal with over multiple coins.
Right.
Because I can present multiple projects to that exchange. It makes it a lot more streamlined.
And so as part of that, are you almost helping the exchanges vet the coins that are coming on?
Absolutely.
Wow, what an exciting role to be in, huh?
Absolutely. So that when I do speak to the exchanges, they know that I have a coin that is more than likely will meet their criteria and be listed on their exchange. Because I do a bunch of the due diligence ahead of time.
Wow. So then are you, I mean, I guess you're doing I'm trying to just figure out how this works, but are you then, I guess you're consulting to the exchanges and compensated that way, and consulting to the projects and the coins and compensated that way as well?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
Holy moly. So you've been touching on the words coins and tokens, and there's currencies and there's, crypto assets. Is that something you can help me understand the difference between them? Is there a fixed definition in your world of what is a token versus a coin versus a currency?
Yes. I'll give you the simplified version.
Yeah.
So basically, a coin would be a currency. It's a standalone. It does its own thing. And typically a token is what they're called utility tokens. So they actually serve a purpose. So they might run an application, or you'll need to use the token to actually run something, versus a coin that just is used as currency.
And so maybe so currencies, obviously I'm looking to barter it or buy something or trade for it. Are tokens then typically, in this definition, not for trading or bartering, or they have another purpose within them?
They typically are used to just run applications. That being said, when you say the word trading, right?
Yeah.
People trade on the exchange. That's one of the reasons the exchanges exist, is because people want to trade the coins and tokens for increased value or whatever, or they want to trade it for a different token that they want to use it for something else.
Well, and I think something that's really tricky about this is, in reading as much as I possibly can and learning as much as I can, all of these are sort of used in such an interchangeable way that, to me, it sort of feels like even if they had a little bit more of a distinct definition, they're so commonly used that they're maybe losing some of that.
Yes, and the same thing in all of my research and my reading, and even speaking to developers, what I might consider a coin, they call a token.
Right.
So the definition does sort of skew. Again, it's a brand new world. Bitcoin was just created in 2009. It's not that old, and all of these other coins. And so everybody that's jumped on the bandwagon, it's this cryptocurrency world. One of the reasons why I love it so much, because it's so brand new, you can create. We're creating business plans. There is no set, this is how you do this. it's changing constantly, which means you can be in this world and do like I did and just create a job for yourself.
Do you think you'll have a large team in short order? Could you see that?
Yes. Yes, I will, because right now, even just keeping up with and keeping track of all the different teams that I'm working with, both from the exchange side and from the developer side. Yes.
So are you doing a ton of travel? Like, how are you? I mean, I know you just came back from London, but does this require a lot of travel, or is a lot of sort of anonymous relationships?
So when I first started this, knowing that I'm in this techie world, I thought, well, for sure everybody will be good to just respond and speak by email. And then what I soon learned is that we still need that face-to-face interaction. So I won't work with a developer unless I've actually had either a Skype or a Zoom call. I can see them face-to-face and get to know them. Because that's what's really important with all of these projects, is the team and the people behind it. If I think they're a bit sketchy,
yes, then you're not going to recommend them.
I'm not going to work with them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that, because, as I've been diving into this world, I've been, introduced to this one or introduced to that one, or somebody saw a video that I did on Bitcoin and, they want to have a conversation. And there have been a couple of people who are fairly prominent in their sort of online presence, who have almost, I've said, oh yeah, let's jump on a video call. And they were like, oh, I don't do video. And I was like, what do you mean you don't do video? I live on video. But, really interesting as we're sort of entering this world where so much of the transaction component is now anonymous, that it's interesting from the relationship standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're still making such a stance in terms of ensuring the credibility of who you're working with.
Absolutely. It's really important for me. I need to, like you said, build a relationship. I need to know who I'm working with and what the team is and what they stand for. Because if I'm not behind them, then I'm not going to recommend them.
No, absolutely. So something that I've been wondering, we know that there is over like 2,000 coins and tokens and assets, and that number is going up every single day. And you're obviously working with developers and programmers who are building more and more.
Yeah.
Why are there so many? Do we need to have so many? Is the space getting diluted too quickly? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think first and foremost, people are just jumping on the bandwagon. They like cryptocurrency, they want to get involved. And why there's so many people with fantastic ideas out there that are trying to solve actual problems. And so most of the projects that I work with are actually trying to solve an existing problem out in the world. And so what happens, and I see a lot of it, is I see duplication. So like I see multiple coins and projects right now that are all trying to solve faster financial transactions, for instance.
Right, so are they all trying to be sort of the first or the best at doing that?
Yes, and the most innovative. They're trying to be the most different, the one with the best idea. And so right now, everybody's out there trying to fight for the same space. And it's also a wide open space, so there's lots of room, because there's lots of room for improvement from a technical standpoint in various aspects of the world.
Now, is there a way for these problems to be tackled or solutions proposed that doesn't include a brand new token or coin or currency? Because I'm not trying to have a scarcity mindset. It's more I'm trying to fathom how it's all really going to come together. And I have no idea before Bitcoin how many currencies there were in the world. But if we think about kind of the floodgates being open and so many more, and each one, as I'm hearing the marketing, and I'm going to ask about ICOs in a moment, but as I hear the marketing about all of them, it's like, this is the one, the only, the coin, the token of the future. But they can't all be, right? And in my opinion, sort of dilutes the space a little bit. So maybe, am I thinking about it wrong, or why are they all creating their own rather than maybe building on one that already exists, or building a business model that leverages an existing currency?
Probably a lot like me, you know, I want to be the one that does it. I don't want to just piggyback on somebody else. Mm-hmm. And quite often people believe that their ideas are more innovative and are a better solution than what's out there. And so that's why they're creating their own projects.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so maybe walk us through, and I know there probably isn't all exactly the same way, but how does a project or an idea evolve and grow into something that we're acquiring and using on the exchanges? And I mean, you can do this at a sort of a very high level, mm-hmm. but how does it come to fruition? Usually it just starts with an idea. Okay, and then what happens? And then, you know, a team or a couple of guys or girls, hopefully, will get together, and they're usually programmers, and start building on that idea. They'll write a white paper, you know, design a roadmap, design where their idea is going to go, and just build a team and start putting the technology together to build that project. Then there's always funding that's required. So there's different ways to do that. You've already mentioned ICOs, the initial coin offerings, which is quite a common way for cryptocurrencies and these blockchain projects to raise money, to raise capital. And also you can just do even pre-sales and private funding, okay, which I've done as well, assisted getting funding for certain projects. I've done that as well. So there's various ways to get money. So basically it starts with an idea. Then you start putting the program together, you know, spread the word, get funding so you can actually build the project, and then once it's ready to go, then we take the coin and we list it so that it's available to be traded publicly. And I mean, do they ever sort of, I mean, especially you've highlighted here that you sort of do some consulting around how they actually get listed, so some guidance on the development, sort of the working forwards and working backwards at the same time? Absolutely. And are you seeing more and more of that now? Yes. Good. That's smart. Good. Well, to be able to get listed, right? And if it doesn't go live, it never really comes to fruition, right? Yeah. So what I'm seeing is the common trend, and this is where I really see myself being of huge value, is much like I've just said, you know, these projects usually start with just an idea and maybe just a couple of techies, a couple of guys that are used to just what's the programming
word?
Or developing.
Programming. There we go. And that's funny. So these programmers, and they can build a project. The problem is quite often they're not business minded. So while they have a fantastic idea and they have all the tech behind it and they have everything that way is sound, they don't know how to they don't know how to get funded. So they don't know how to find money, some of them. And they don't know how to take the idea and turn it into a business to actually launch it so that it's sustainable long term. So that's where I step in and give them guidance in that way. And so once a coin or a token or a currency is on one of the exchanges, is there to stay? Is there a maintenance, or is there, you know, checking in to see that it's doing what it's doing? How does that unfold? From my standpoint, or from the coin? Well, maybe from the coin itself, and then are you playing a role in that? Once the coin is listed, it's out of my hands. Once it's on an exchange, I can then assist getting it on other exchanges. Right. So because I can, you know, put your coin on one or multiple exchanges, whatever you decide. But once it's on the exchange, it's out of my hands. Then it's up to the coin developers to make sure that the technology is still up to date and sound and everything's working. It's also up to the exchanges to make sure that the wallets are all working properly, that transactions are happening. Yeah. And now, as far as sustainability of a coin or a token on an exchange and the longevity, how long it will be on an exchange. So I've seen different things. I've seen coins go on an exchange and within 3 months they're delisted. And is that the exchange that's doing the delisting? Yes. The exchange decides. Because if a coin is going on an exchange, Well, let's back up. There's So there's two ways that an exchange makes money.
Okay.
And this is, again, very, very basic. But there's two ways that an exchange makes money. Number one, from the listing fee. So quite often
you have to pay to have.
You have to pay to put your coin on the exchange.
And is there sort of a range of what kind of fee that looks like?
A massive range.
Okay.
Anywhere from 0 to, I've seen some exchanges will charge 40, 50 Bitcoin.
Okay.
So, and it's everywhere in between. So again, because I have that knowledge, that's part of what I do with the coin developer, because quite often they have a budget for listing.
Right.
And so I can work within their budget also to make sure that they get on the exchanges that meet their requirements and are within their budget. So number one, exchanges get paid through the coin listing fees.
Okay.
And they also get paid every time the coin trades.
Right. So if you're buying and selling or trading.
Right. So every time somebody is buying or selling or trading that coin on that exchange, there's a small fee that the exchange receives.
Okay.
So what the exchange is looking for is a coin that will have longevity. They want a coin with a good community so that they believe will do a ton of trading. And so long as there's a lot of trading back and forth, the exchange is happy, it's making money, the coin is still alive, the project's working, like it's best for all.
Right. So if a coin comes onto an exchange and there isn't a volume of trading, could that be one of the reasons why a coin would be delisted?
Absolutely.
Now, how does that fit in? By the way, that's super interesting. But how does that fit in with consumer behavior? So again, I'm reading a ton, and there's a lot of people who are buying for the purpose of holding, especially because merchant acceptance is not where we want it to be. Like, I can't just go to a lot of the stores that I want to make purchases at and just use my cryptocurrency. So
Yet.
I mean, but I mean, for the purpose of
for right
this
now,
exchange, right? So I'm happy to trade it, use it, barter it, sell it, acquire it, whatever all that kind of good stuff is. But if that's not to the level that I'm looking for, coupled with the fact that some people are of the mindset that it's an investment, I'm going to buy it and hold it for the next 20 years, how does that really play into the exchanges making money? And maybe it's just not mainstream yet, so that's not happening, but kind of what are your thoughts on all that?
So with the different exchanges that I've spoken to, many of them have a large user base, and typically only a small percentage actually are active traders.
Okay.
So quite often people will open an account on an exchange, and like you say, they'll purchase or they might do a trade every once in a while, and then they hold.
Right.
Because that's what they want to do.
Well, most people are not day trading cryptocurrencies and coins, right?
Exactly. So the exchanges really are looking for those traders.
Got it.
And for most of the exchanges I've spoken to, the majority of them, it's really only a small user base. So that's a concern. Again, this is just me talking to the exchanges. It's up to the exchanges to run their businesses and increase trading. But many of them are looking at how they can increase the active trading.
Yeah, well, that would make a lot of sense. But, I guess when you're looking as to what coins and tokens you are going to have on your exchange, this is me putting on my exchange hat here, it's more, who is that coin going to attract, and is that person someone who's going to be more of an active trader?
Exactly.
So I guess we'll see that evolve over time too, right? When
exactly.
There's more capability.
Exactly. And that's part of my role too. When I do the due diligence, I take a look at who is the community that will be using that coin. And, if they're just business people that aren't active cryptocurrency traders, then I won't put them on an exchange that is reliant on the active trading. Right. So again, that's part of my due diligence. And when I take a look at the project from a whole, is what exchange will actually benefit from this particular project, and what exchanges will be of benefit to the projects. So it's kind of a two-way street.
So let's say that I've got a project. I don't, but let's just say that I have a crypto project. would I want to have my coin, and let's just keep using that word for now because we've established what's what, who's who. Would I want that coin to be on as many exchanges as possible? Does that matter? Do I want just a few big ones? Like, with over 200 exchanges, like, if you're going to charge me as much as, you know, many Bitcoin to get on, I mean, not even make financial sense to do that. How would a new project navigate or think about wanting to be on exchanges?
Again, every project is so different, and it really comes down to who is their community, who do they want to serve, and where will that community find them, on what exchanges. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, budget's really an issue, especially if you have projects that have not run an ICO, which there are several. Then the budget's a lot tighter. So it's, and again, that's where I help work and I help them navigate. It's that fine line between, you know, you want to get on an exchange that has enough user base that people will see the coin, and the community will jump on board and start trading it and grow that, and also working within the budget. So
just like the real world, right?
Just like the real world.
We all have budgets.
Yeah, and the thing is, some exchanges only have 1 or 2 coins, and that's all they do. Some exchanges only list the top trading coins, and that's all they do. And then other exchanges are known for having, you know, the weird and the wonderful coins, the different ones. Others are known for having like the new projects and really the speculative ones. So again, you know, when you take a look, when I work with a project, like you said, you know, if you were to start one, it would really depend on you, your goals, your community, and what's required. And that's how we decide where to go.
That's interesting. And so are the different exchanges serving their communities differently? I mean, you mentioned there's, you know, 200 to 300 exchanges out there. Is the user experience very similar or very different across all of them? Do some of them, you know, also provide other additional value add experiences? I mean, I've dabbled with a few, so I'm just kind of curious about the spectrum and what they're like.
From a user standpoint and the exchanges, as of now, I haven't seen a whole lot doing a whole lot different. They're basically, the same. So typically what happens when a coin gets listed, the exchange will do, you know, a Twitter release or a press release and make sure that everybody knows that there's a new coin listed. The coin project will also do a ton of press releases to make sure the community knows where to find their coin.
Well, I'd expect that the project would do a lot, but
absolutely.
From an exchange standpoint, I was curious, you know, are they...
They typically just do announcements, hey, we've got this new coin, and then let it go.
Interesting.
That being said, in speaking to a couple of the exchanges, I know there's talk about changing that.
You have done such a great job of creating a new role in a world that doesn't exist that, you know, one of the things that really comes to mind for me is, you know, if the exchanges are providing more information or more tutorials or more welcoming type of stuff for the mainstream, I think it could be really interesting. And I mean, some of them are kind of starting that way. There are numerous exchanges that already have tutorials. They're not project specific. They're exchange specific. This is how you get on. This is how you trade. This is how, they have a lot of them have a lot of how-tos. But I almost meant like taking that to another level. So instead of sort of feeling like I'm only engaging with an exchange, which is sort of a tool or a facilitator, you know, if obviously, you know, they'd have to know all the ins and outs, but it'd be interesting if there was almost like sort of a go-to on what's happening in the coins and everything inside there. But we'll have to see how everything evolves and unfolds, which is very cool.
For sure.
So we've mentioned ICO a couple of times. I was hoping that maybe you could talk a little bit about them as, I guess, a fundraising tool for projects themselves, but then also if you have any tips or tricks for how the average person who's obviously seen, engaged, heard of all these money-making ICO opportunities,
yes,
how do people really evaluate them in your mind? Because you've sort of got the insider scoop. What other tips would you have for someone who's exploring an ICO as an option of where they're going to put their money?
Great question. And, you know, as most people are aware, ICOs, when they got really popular, then quickly got a bad rap.
Yes.
Right? So there were a lot of scam ICOs out there where people were just raising millions of dollars and then going to buy whatever they wanted. They just took the money and ran.
Yeah.
And so this is what you really need to watch out for. So the first thing I do when I'm looking at a project is I look at the team. Who are the actual people?
So the team of developers or the team
yes.
of...
whoever's working on the project. Actually take a look at them. What's their history? Who are they? Are they credible people? There was one project that I looked at. They asked me to list them on exchanges. And when I took a look at their website, they had stock photos of people that they called their team, and they were made up names. So they weren't even willing to put their own name or face on their website. That's a major, major, major red flag.
Yeah.
So stay clear.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first thing I would do is take a look at the actual team. Are they credible people? Do they have a history? And again, in the cryptocurrency world, it's so new. Many times they don't have a crypto history, but they might be, you know, well-educated people with a great...
Well, and in a related field, right? So as you said, a lot of these
Exactly.
projects are looking to solve issues. If it's an issue or a challenge in the health space,
Exactly.
you know, you maybe want to find that these individuals have a bit of a health-related background, something so that they know what they're talking about.
Exactly. And that brings me to the second point when I'm looking, like if I were to look to invest in an ICO, and again, I'm not giving financial advice.
Nope.
That's not my job. The other thing to look at is, does the project actually interest you?
Yeah.
Is it something that you would use? Because if it's something that you would use, you see yourself using, then chances are a lot of other people will as well, which means the chances are then it will actually stick around.
So like a viable solution to something that is a challenge that is of interest for you to be solved, or if it's a product or service
Exactly.
that you could see yourself being a consumer at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would specifically look at if you were considering an ICO?
The people, the project. I'm
wondering about like the timelines, or you know, if it's almost done. Are there things that you expect by the time an ICO is there that are already locked and loaded in place? And this may be oversimplifying for you, but the average person doesn't even know what they're looking at.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Take a look at their roadmap. Most of the projects have roadmaps. Have they actually accomplished what they said they were going to accomplish in a timely manner? So many times you can see that, because quite often the ICOs are just an idea to raise money, but they've actually not completed any of the project yet.
Right. So if they haven't done any work,
right,
not as viable.
Right. So make sure that if they say by such and such a date that they're going to do whatever it is, do they actually have that done? And the beautiful part about, you know, the blockchain in this crypto space is that everything's open source. It's publicly accessible. So you can actually go in, and even me, who's not a techie person, you can go in and actually see how far people have come on their project. You can actually see the progression of it because it's all public.
Ooh, that's cool. I'd actually love to see what that looks like. I wouldn't even know where to start in terms of trying to look at that stuff, but that would be really cool.
Well, when you see their websites, on the bottom of the website, you'll see their GitHub address. You'll see all the different forums, community forums, Bitcoin Talk, their Twitter accounts, things like that. That's where I go to look, because it shows you what they're actually doing versus what they say they're doing.
And so, I mean, you referenced Twitter in there. Would they just have links to all their updates, or is that typically what they're doing?
Yep, and you'll see also the community involvement, which is big. If you're looking at their social media and there's nobody there, you know, And you know, I've had different, and this is where I know that I create huge value, because I've seen that before in projects where their social media is quiet. And so that's kind of a red flag for me. So instead of me just disregarding them completely, I go to the project developers and I say, hey, what's up? And I find out the reason behind that. That's what I do personally. And that's the due diligence that I do.
Yeah.
And most people don't have that opportunity or go to the developers themselves. But again, when you're looking at an ICO, you can look at all of that. And what you need to do, though, and this is the caution, is really get a sense, whether it's you use your own gut intuition or what, but really get a sense of whether you believe that it's real community involvement, because quite often times they can look like they're very involved and there's lots of people involved in the project and it's not real.
And so is that people who like made up people, or is it bot social media following, or what do you really mean?
Yes, quite often there's a lot of purchased social media following. And I don't want to say that's a bad thing, but if all of the community involvement is purchased social media, then that's a huge red flag for me. And you can usually tell based on the type of comments that are made. Are they actual real sentences and paragraphs?
Right.
Then they're probably humans.
Right.
Or are they just short to the point, this is great, that was awesome. You know, things like that. You start to look authentic. And you go,
But isn't it a little bit of a catch-22? I mean, it's not my problem or, you know, the problem of someone who's looking to get into an ICO. But if you've got a new project or a new idea and it's in its early stages, I mean, do you typically have a large social media following? Or if it's early day, I mean...
Again, every project's so different. It depends. Some people start with the social media to gain attention, and others don't. So, you know, you really just have to take a look at the project as a whole. And you know what? It really all depends on your risk tolerance too. If you're a gambler, go gamble.
Okay, well, we're not. Yes, if you're a gambler, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've been saying this a lot about cryptocurrency, right? There's so much speculation.
Very speculative market.
Right.
There's no guarantees.
Yeah. And so, you know, if somebody, you know, does all the due diligence that you've advised and they decide that they want to, you know, put some money into this ICO, are they typically just transferring it to the project headquarters, or how does that work? Do you know?
Like, how do they actually purchase the coin during an ICO?
Because the coin is not existent yet, right? It's not listed. In many instances, there is no coin yet. It's the idea of the project.
Right. So what happens is the projects will have a specific web page that is their ICO web page.
Okay.
And so that's where you can go and it will say, you know, to purchase coin, press here.
Right. And typically you'll already download their wallet or something of that nature.
All of that will be there available for you.
Now, even though the coin isn't listed, they'll still issue the coin to your wallet. Is that how it always works, or there's different ways to do it?
Yes, that's what is, in an ideal world, that's what happens. So the idea is you pay up front, and then when the coin is issued, then you get your issuance, yes. Got it.
And then you're sort of just waiting until it's on an exchange?
Yes.
Right.
In order to trade it, yes.
Right, in order to be able to trade it. Because, I mean, if you can't trade it, there's no value to it.
Again, it depends on the project. Because if it's a utility token and you need that particular token to run the app that the project has built, then you don't need the exchange. Because all you need is the token itself to run the app.
Got it. Okay, so that's where it's less of a currency, right? It's more of the utility. The utility that you were referencing earlier. Okay, and so then with an ICO, now let's say that it's not a token utility, that it's more of a coin. Essentially, if it never gets listed, if it, you know, they work with you and they come into you at the 11th hour and they haven't taken all your great advice and, you know, they haven't gained all your insight. If it's not listed, then what happens to the money?
That's up to the project. And this is where you need to really decide whether they have integrity or not. So I have seen in several cases where if the project stops, then they have actually refunded the money. And those are the good projects with great integrity.
Absolutely.
Again, why it's so key that you really need to look into who's actually running the project.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, the money may just not be returned.
Right, and this is, again, what has happened.
Yeah.
We've seen it, and it's happened, and this is why ICOs have had in the past such a bad rep.
Yeah. Now, part of the other sort of bad rep that I've heard is that, you know, even if they do come to fruition, if they do get listed on the exchange, you know, sometimes there's, you know, the intention of dumping it the minute it's launched. Pump and dump is what I've heard it being called.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a coordinated effort. Sometimes it's more of an accidental effort. But are you seeing a lot of that? How do you have any suggestions around maybe avoiding that?
The pump and dump?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I've gone through all the due diligence that we've talked about, I could see myself using this project in the future or this currency, and I put money into the ICO because I'm supporting it, and you know, I get the coin at a discounted amount, you know, whatever, 10 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar, whatever it is. It gets listed on exchange, and then everybody else throws it away. Is there a way to seek this out in advance or know that that's the intention, or is there something like, would I monitor to see that that's not happening? How would I avoid that happening to me, or all of a sudden I have this coin that's worth not much because everybody's gotten rid of it?
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. You know, quite typically the projects will hold a certain amount of coins back that is in their control, so they can still have some semblance of control.
Right.
But really, I mean, the whole point of cryptocurrency is that it's out there, it's for community use, and you have no control of what the community will or will not do. So it's not typically the projects or the coin developers that do the pump and dump, typically.
No.
It's the community. So, and you don't know that because you have no idea who else is buying that coin.
Right. Right. Okay. And I mean, I know this is not necessarily your area of expertise. I just, you know, having you here gives me the opportunity to ask all these questions and want to make sure that folks who worked really hard for their money are, you know, even if it is the small percentage of their portfolio that they're looking to, you know, maybe have an exponential growth or do something with.
Yeah.
You know, there's a ton of caution, you know, and want to just make sure that if you had any great tidbits that you could share that people could take away and go from there. So.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing, I mean, because this world is so speculative, is, you know, really never ever put more than you're willing to lose. Just like any sort of risky type investment, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be crypto or fiat currency. So only put in what you're willing to not have anymore.
Right.
And then it really doesn't matter at the end of the day whether it flies or doesn't.
It's true, but I will tell you, both having said that and put in money into the crypto world, you know, we don't really want to lose any of our money, right?
Right.
I think it was Warren Buffett that says 2 rules. Rule number 1, don't lose any money. And rule number 2, see rule number 1. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I share those sentiments with others and, of course, in my own portfolio as well. But, you know, we still want to be as intelligent as possible and careful as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you do decide to put money into an ICO, which really is a project that hasn't actually come to fruition yet, so you need to know that.
Higher levels of risk, yeah.
Much higher levels of risk versus going and keeping track of or paying attention to some of the coins and tokens that are out there that already have a long-standing track record.
Right.
And then you can just go straight to an exchange without, you know, without putting your money into a specific project and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anybody more, go straight to the exchange and go with a coin
that's been around for a while.
Already been around for a while.
That's going up and down on the market, right? On the exchanges.
Exactly. Like any investment, you know, buy low, sell high.
Hopefully do that. I know lots of people who have bought high and sold low, unfortunately.
I've made that mistake too.
Yes, oh, totally. So, tell me a little bit about what you're most excited about in the world of crypto.
Oh, just the endless possibilities.
Yeah.
One of the things, and again, I know I said this earlier, I do not have a tech background. And so, you know, when I first told my friends and family, oh yeah, I'm a bit like heavily involved in cryptocurrency. I have all these connections globally now, and you know, this is all I do all day long, every day. And they look at me going, but you know nothing about tech. 3 years ago, if my computer didn't work, I'd curl up in the corner and cry. Yeah. Like I used to be so tech adverse. So, and that's the beautiful part about this world, and one of the things that I'm so excited about is it doesn't matter what your background is. There's a place for you should you choose to create one.
So you obviously have learned an absolute ton. For some of the folks who are maybe more rookies and want to get started, want to learn more, where did you go to find all this information, and more importantly, find accurate information? Because there is so much pro-Bitcoin Cash, anti-Bitcoin Cash. There's so many, and I found this really interesting, like almost like inner conspiracy theories. I don't know if I've gone in the totally wrong place. What kinds of places would you recommend people who want to just learn more, get to know more, really go to learn more?
Yeah, so when I first started, I went to YouTube, and there's a lot, even just in the short time I've been involved, there's a lot better quality information out there on YouTube. So that's a good place to start.
Well, this video is on YouTube.
Absolutely, absolutely. I had probably a very similar experience when I first started investigating and deep dive.
Yeah.
I found one little article that basically said that cryptocurrency was the Antichrist. So, you know, you probably had similar experience.
I've seen all kinds of
everything.
nonsense.
So it's all out there. So you really need to, again, you know, use your gut, use your intuition, sift through the information. And really what I look for is look for information that's completely unbiased. If possible, as neutral as possible. Are they pushing a specific product? Then they're pushing a product. They're probably backed by that project. So, you know, do your best to weed through the, you know, sift through the weeds and just find the information that is as neutral as possible. And the other thing, you know, find somebody. There's more and more people coming out of the woodwork, and all you need to do is ask. There's so many people that are involved, heavily involved in the crypto space, that if you find somebody, that's the other thing I did, is I found 2 or 3 people that I trusted that are very involved in the cryptocurrency space, and just asked a ton of questions.
Well, I'll agree. I actually found that the community, and I don't even know what community this is, but I just found like the folks who are really involved in cryptocurrency were really kind in terms of answering questions.
Absolutely.
And like lots of people like literally living on the computer, answering my questions. You know, obviously, I mean, it wasn't like I was a complete brand new beginner. I'd obviously done a lot of research, but you know, just reading articles, commenting on them, asking additional questions, and people have been really gracious in terms of sharing their perspective and
absolutely
filling in the gaps on things that I didn't know.
Absolutely. I have found far more wonderful people in this space that are, like you said, just open to sharing, open to teaching. They want people to know more, and are just so generous with their information. So there's lots of even meetup groups. So I've actually just agreed to, I've joined Bitcoin North, which is the main meetup is in Richmond Hill, Ontario. And I'm going to be running the Barrie division of Bitcoin North. So even things like that, you know, find meetup groups that are completely neutral, that aren't pushing a specific project. And fantastic community, amazing people, and tremendous information.
That's awesome. That's great. So I have an obvious question, inevitable question. As a lady who's come from real estate and a financial background, there's many instances where, you know, there's not been a lot of other women at the table. Whether it's, and it's funny because I've just joined another board, and you know, we have the first board meeting coming up, and Yet again, I'm the only female. We're coming a long way. We're speaking in plain English. We're including women as best as we possibly can.
Yeah.
I'm curious, are you finding that women are getting into crypto? I mean, as you're in sort of the inner workings of it all, are there lots of females there? Do we need some more?
We need a lot more women.
I somehow thought that would be your answer.
Yes, there's very, very, very few women that I speak to. It's mostly men that I'm talking to, be it at the exchange level or even at the project level. And so I think there's massive room for women. You know, we're smart. I think what happens...
We're very smart.
We are. We need to be far more involved. And I think what happens probably a lot like in the financial world, because I've got a financial background as well. I worked in personal finance. And I think what happens is women hear about technology or they hear about money and they get scared. Instead of taking charge and going, no, I got this, instead of learning more about it and being empowered by it. So I think that's a lot of what happens, is they think, oh, that's just a techie world and I'm not techie.
Yeah.
And it's just not true.
Well, I will tell you, I feel that way a little bit. I'm not the most techie. I mean,
right.
I just bought some new microphone equipment, and the first one I couldn't even get to work. I had to take it back to the store. But I had to say to myself, like, no, I'm included.
Yeah.
I can learn.
Yep.
And as an entrepreneur, I've had to learn a ton of different types of softwares and programs, and I've persevered through. And same thing with sort of crypto, like I'm involved in a whole bunch of Discord app discussions. So
yes.
For those of you who aren't familiar, Discord app has historically been I'm not even going to say this right, like a conversation space, if you will, for gamers.
For gamers.
For gamers, yes. Yeah. And so when the first cryptocurrency person invited me, and I was like, what is this? I struggled to even download it. I was like, see, I'm not included in this, but I persevered. I asked a ton of questions, and I'm pretty good in there right now.
Good.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. We need to just be able to persevere, continue to take steps, and just say, you know what, I am included and I can learn this.
Absolutely, because it's not as hard as you think. If I can do it, any woman out there can do it. If I can do it, any woman out there can do it. So, it's just a matter of not being afraid. Just, get curious. That's really what you need to do. Get curious and just find out as much as you can.
Well, I think it's absolutely incredible that you have crafted this sort of pivot in your career in a space where you really found a need. Throughout that process, what have you actually been the most proud of?
Oh, the most proud of? Truthfully, I'm the most proud that I have stepped into a space that I knew nothing about. I have no background in whatsoever, male-dominated, and I have found a niche for myself.
Good for you.
And, as I have all of these meetings and meet new developers, meet new exchanges, meet everybody in this space, there's an instant respect for me.
That's awesome.
It's just, so that's probably what I'm most proud of, is that I've actually taken the leap of faith in myself and just stepped into it wholeheartedly and fearlessly.
Awesome. Well, I want to acknowledge you for being a fearless woman who is stepping into a space and carving out a really great name for yourself. I've heard some really great things about you in the industry, and I know that you are just getting started with less than a year in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Which is really amazing. So if folks have questions for you, or they want to connect with you, or maybe work on your team as it gets bigger, where's the best place for people to find you?
Right now, the easiest place to find me is on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will link her profile down below. You can reach out to Jackie and you can message her, and as always, there's a ton of great receptivity. I know she's going to be really warm and really excited to support you on your journey, because as she said, and as I've mentioned, it's the people who sort of helped us on our crypto journey that brought us to where we are. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I want to thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it, sharing great insights into a cryptic world, no pun intended. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click the little bell below to be notified when new videos come up. And as always, if you're looking for more tips and tricks and inspiration, come on over to limor.money. I've got lots of videos and resources to help you on your journey. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.